Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Chris Nowacki, and welcome back to another episode of the TKR Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Craig Epstein. Craig, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good, pretty good. A little tired from staying up a little later than I thought I was going to last night. And yeah, so you want to get started talking about it?
Sure. So obviously, last night Rutgers lost down at Welsh Ryan Arena in Evanston, Illinois. Up in Illinois. Anyway, 79-78 in overtime. Rutgers got down by 24 points. They made the comeback. Really, it was the Paul Mulcahy show. He did everything that he could to kind of will Rutgers to a win there. They fell just short. Another loss in the resume, another Q2, game that Rutgers could have had. Kind of similar to Minnesota a little bit in terms of it was there for the taking. But along those lines, Craig, man, what do you see from the game?
Well, I'll leave this up to you. Should we start with the good, the bad, or the ugly?
That's a good point. I guess I know. Well, let's rip the band-aid off. Let's start with the bad here.
Okay, let's start with the bad. So Rutgers, once again, just another, we called it the last game, another, I didn't call it, but we said another slow start could doom Rutgers. And that's exactly what happened. You get off to a slow start. They trailed 43-25 at halftime, just bad play. And next thing, and although they, like we said, they were down by as much as 24 in the second half, they're able to come back. But it just makes you think, if Rutgers was able to get to a hotter start, if you don't fall behind if you don't spot a team a double-digit lead and have to spend basically the rest of the game trying to dig out of that hole, like it could have been so much different. If Rutgers could have played the first half like they played that second half, chances are we'd be talking about a Rutgers win right now. But instead, they just come out very cold. And once again, it just leads to another loss. And this is something that's really plagued them for a while now.
Yeah, I think it's like really 4 games in a row. They go off to really bad starts. And it goes even beyond that. I mean, the first game against Maryland, they were down the first half. Penn State, they got down by a good amount there too. So, and Pico said last night, Steve Pico said last night that it's on him, but obviously nothing's changed, nothing's fixed. It's been going on for quite some time now. And it's really doomed them. It's kind of similar to what really has gone on all season long. I mean, Rutgers dug itself into a hole by not playing well, overall at the beginning of the season, having lost to Lafayette, DePaul, stuff like that. So, just another game that Rutgers, got down. And I mean, and Pico said he didn't like his defense in the first half. Obviously they didn't shoot the ball well too. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, Northwestern,
and it seems like Northwestern, like I made a comment to somebody last night that it seems like the past couple of games, a lot of the 3-point shooters for their team are just wide open, and they're knocking them down. So that's obviously goes back to the defense that Pico isn't happy about.
Yeah, I mean, Northwestern is just too good of a team to really fall behind like that and expect to win. And Pete Nant, I mean, Northwestern's not a great team, but they're good enough where if you fall behind by 24 points, like chances are you're not going to win. I mean, it's really a miracle that they were able to get back into this game. I mean, a credit to them with their defense. I mean, great defense in the second half, and they really came alive. But falling behind by 24 points and winning, it's not something that happens a lot. Yeah. So Pete, whether it's Pete, you got Pete Nance, who's a good shooter, Boo Boo, he's a good shooter. It's like you fall behind by that much to them, and it's just like chances are you're not going to come back. And in this case, Rutgers did its best, but it fell short in the end.
Yeah. And I mean, they didn't have any lead at all in regulation. They tied the game with 1.9 seconds left. Paul Mulcahy had a nice driving dish to Clifton Murray for a very quick dunk. I mean, I didn't really even see the ball, kind of go through the hoop, but it was kind of similar to the Suns, playoff win against the Clippers, where it just went in. I didn't know what happened. So yeah. And then obviously Paul Mulcahy had a nice little layup in the lane to go up 72-70 in overtime, but that was the only time they led. And obviously Northwestern came out with the win. Geo Baker had 0 points, 0 for 7 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3-point land. He had a costly turnover. Rutgers had a shot to take the lead again in overtime, and they gave the ball away, and obviously Northwestern was able to hang on. That's just another thing right there where, if Geo Baker makes a bucket, Rutgers wins. It was only a 1 point margin at the very end. So, what do you see from Geo? And from last night's game?
When it comes to Geo, I mean, it's just it's probably one of his worst performances, like ever. Like I can't think of hard to think of a worse one than that. I mean, 0 for 7, 0 points. I mean, he was on the floor for 38 minutes and came away with 0 points. I mean, it's almost hard to fathom that you're on the floor for almost an entire game for almost 40 minutes and you just came away with 0 points. I mean, like you said, if he just scores one of them, Rutgers probably wins this game. But it's just nothing was going in for Geo. And it was just, and like you said, that costly turnover at the end, they were down by 1 point. I think it was like 30 seconds left in overtime. Who knows what that could have led to? It was just not a good pass that went through Ron's hands. Yeah. And that's ultimately what led to the loss. So just a very bad performance from Geo which is, it stinks because, he was playing so well those last few games. I mean, he was really keeping this team alive the last few games, but this one was just like you take, a couple steps forward and then you take a bunch of steps back in this one.
For sure. Yeah. It's a good way to put that. I know one thing that caught my eye also was how Caleb McConnell barely played in the second half. He only played 17 minutes total. I know Pico said basically he just thought that the guys he went with was, gave Rutgers the best chance to win. Given Geo struggles, would you have maybe taken him out earlier and maybe try someone else?
Well, I would say like obviously hindsight's 2020. Sure. Like Geo scored 0 points, so everybody's going to say, we should have taken Geo out. But at the same time, I'm not sure. I don't remember what point Pico really kind of just stuck with Geo over Caleb. But I would say that it was probably early when they were, losing by 20 plus points. And when you're down by that many points, you really need all your scorers out there. And on paper, Geo is just a better scorer than Caleb. He can, get his own shot much easier than Caleb. So I would say that it's probably not the wrong move at the time because you need points. I mean, defensive stops aren't going to do everything. You really need to score, and Geo's the better scorer. So I could see why Pico stuck with Geo there. But at the same time, maybe in the overtime, as you come down late in the game when Geo has his 0 points, maybe you make the move. But the only thing is where are you gonna go? It's like you could go to Caleb, who's been sitting on the bench for pretty much a lot of the game, or you could go to Jalen Miller. But at this point, do you really trust Jalen Miller, especially when you really need a basket to win a game? Sure. So it's just, I could see both sides of it, and it's just tough to. Just a tough way for Rutgers to go out.
Yeah, and it seemed like Mawot Mag got a lot of minutes over Caleb this time around. He had 22 minutes. He was 0 for 3 from the field, but he did have 5 rebounds and assists, 2 points on two foul shots, which for some reason I don't remember that at all. But he made 2 foul shots. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where else you would go. Obviously, Geo's more experienced. He's been there before. He's lifted Rutgers to new heights and big wins over his years. So yeah, I mean, I agree with keeping Geo in there. He just had a bad game, and he picked a bad time to have a bad game. Yeah. I guess Rutgers only need a little bit from him, and and they didn't get it. I mean, it's kind of interesting too, because normally we talk about how Harper and Baker do all the scoring, and Rutgers still scored 78 points, and Ron only had 16. They had 16 points combined, and they're all from Ron. So I guess we kind of switch gears a little bit, talk about the positives. They obviously did make the 20-foot per comeback. They got into overtime. Paul McKee was fantastic. He had his best game as a collegiate player at Rutgers. Career high 31 points. He was crazy 10 for 13 from the field. He made 2 of 3 shots from on 3-pointers. He was also 9 of 11 from the foul line, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. I mean, he was fantastic. Steve Pico said he was really spectacular. He kind of was gritty and kind of willed Rutgers back to the comeback there. Yeah, he just fell 1 point shy. Kind of felt bad for him given how much he did. I mean, you kind of don't expect a game like that from Mulcahy, given his style and everything, but really, really great game from him.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, credit to them in that second half. They really flipped the switch there. I mean, down by 18 points and then they kind of switched to a different, it seemed like they switched to what, a 2-3 zone,
Yeah, a little
really
bit
switched
zone,
up
yep.
the defense, really switched up the defense in Northwestern. And they just had really no answers for that. It was really just, so credit to them for that. And I mean, Paul Mulcahy he was a madman in that second half. I mean, he's like you said, he scored 31 points. His previous career high was 15, and he surpassed that in the second half alone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just unbelievable. So credit to him. Like you said, with that towards the end of the game, just an that pass to Cliff to tie the game was just unbelievable. I mean, if Paul Mulcahy can play like that, going forward, he's just such a dangerous player. He's got such great court vision. And if he can add just this type of scoring, he can really, really take Rutgers to the next level. So I guess we'll see. But with this February slate coming up, it's gonna be tough for Rutgers. But really, I mean, credit to Paul Mulcahy. That's the one part about this game that that's the shame is like Paul Mulcahy really, really played his heart out. He really deserved this win. But I mean, Rutgers as a team only had, I think, 4 people in total score.
Mm-hmm.
It was Paul, Cliff, Ron. Oh no, 5.
5.
Paul,
Yeah,
Cliff, Ron,
Dean Reber had
Dean,
7, and then Mag.
and
Yeah.
Mag.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And that's just like, you need more than that to win. So I really just felt bad for Paul at the end there, because he really played his heart out and he really deserved this one.
Yeah. I mean, if Rutgers plays like that in the second half, I mean, you saw how good of a team they can be. If they get that third, fourth scorers, I mean, they could be a dangerous team. And if they play defense the way they're capable, they could be a good team. They just overall been very inconsistent this season. But yeah, going back to Cliff too, he had 22 points, 9 to 14 from the field. I feel like he had like 8 dunks out of his 9 shots. 4 for 6 from the foul line, 6 boards. He also had a good game. Harper had 16 points, but he was only 4 of 14 from the field. Another thing I want to touch on was the last second shot in overtime. Cliff, Ron got the rebound and went down the court, pulled up. I mean, he was open, but his shot was a little short and clanked off the rim, and Northwestern was able to get the win. Would you have done anything different there in that situation?
No, I think it was a pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good look. I mean, I don't think they had any timeouts left at that point. Yeah, I didn't think so. So at the time, like obviously you want to get the ball into Paul's hands there because he's having such a good game. But I can remember seeing when Ron got the rebound and was going, like Paul was trailing him. So it's kind of like with time winding down, do you really want to pass the ball to a guy who's behind you? Plus, I mean, Ron, he's a clutch player, so I thought he had a good look. It just came up a little bit short, so I can't really fault them for that last shot, because on paper that's probably a shot that you would take most of the time.
Sure. I mean, obviously, Harper's the leading scorer on the team. He made the last second, half court shot against Purdue. So, I mean, he's kind of been there before. I mean, he was open, he got separation. Maybe they had extra time for a pass. Maybe you do want to get the ball into Mulcahy's hands, given, maybe he could drive and dish again, similar to what he did at the end of the half. But yeah, I mean, like I said, man, they had their chances there. There was a couple opportunities where the ball was getting tipped around a bunch, and it just didn't go in the hoop.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I think that happened like twice, where it's
I think it was like two times at least. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, like, if one of those buckets goes in, Rutgers wins also.
Yeah, I know. So, it went everywhere but down the hoop.
I feel like it hit like every side of the rim, every side of the backboard. It just wasn't able. Yeah. So little unlucky there, but bad loss for Rutgers. They had a chance to kind of help right the ship a little bit. But it was a good comeback by them nonetheless. Just ultimately didn't have enough points at the end. But yeah, I mean, they were 22 or 27 from the free throw line, which is very good. That's one thing that was mentioned in the press conference last night. Yeah, I mean, Rutgers right now, I mean, we're at the point of the season where it's the February that we've all talked about for weeks now. We got 5 straight ranked teams. I think the next 8 are, quad 1 teams. And then you got Penn State at the end of the season. So they got Michigan State on Saturday. I believe you said they're ranked 13th. So They have beaten Michigan State in the past, but I mean, it is at Jersey Mike's Arena, so maybe the fans help a little bit there. But obviously, you can't really bank on that. So on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to see it with it. Like we've been talking about for so long. It's brutal February slate. It's just these were the type of wins that Rutgers needed to stockpile and really just give themselves that cushion. But now that they really kind of fumbled those last few games, whether it's Maryland, Minnesota, this one, it's just hard to see Rutgers, coming out of this February slate in one piece and making a run out of things, because they're really, I mean, at this point they're going to win. I don't like. It's hard to imagine them getting to 11 conference wins with that. I mean, they're going to need some help from the Big Ten tournament, but at this point, I don't see it. I don't know if you see it any differently.
No, I agree with you there. So, they're 11-9. I mean, 12-9 overall, 6-5 in the conference. Kind of the sweet spot that, has been talked about is 12 conference wins. But with the schedule coming up, it's hard to see that. I mean, they got Michigan State on Saturday, then they got Ohio State, then they have Wisconsin, then they have Illinois, then they have Purdue again and West Lafayette, which is a hard place to play. And then they got Michigan again on the road. I believe Rutgers hasn't won there. And they just beat Michigan for the first time this season. So obviously, they haven't won there. And that game was at home. And then they have Wisconsin again. The one game they have a shot at is Indiana. They've they've had Indiana's number over the past couple games. But it's hard to see anything really beyond that. They have beaten Wisconsin before. I mean, I mean, it's gonna be tough. The Big Ten is a bear right now. I mean, as far as their schedule goes, and the rest of the month. Yeah, I mean, for all the talk that everyone did preseason about getting back to the NCAA tournament and doing more damage than they did last year, I don't even think NIT is realistic at this point.
Yeah,
so
I was just gonna say, like, if this February slate doesn't go well, I don't even know if they're gonna get a call to the NIT.
Sure.
I mean, with those early season losses to Lafayette, UMass, I mean, it's just it's tough to see even NIT being in their future. So yeah, like you said, if that's how the season ends, it really is a disappointing way to go.
For sure. Especially Baker comes back, Harper comes back this season, and then next year, I mean, they're gonna look a lot different next season without those guys there. Maybe Mcconnell, he's technically has another year. For the COVID year, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, if they can somehow stay above 500, maybe they get to go to the postseason somewhere. But at this point, it doesn't look likely. And it's pretty much it. Craig, you have anything else?
But you never know.
you never know. I mean, I guess that's why you play the game. So yeah, I mean, maybe they play like they did in the second half against Northwestern the rest of the way, and Rutgers goes on a little run, but it's just hard to see it at this point.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, with that being said, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.